Welcome back to episode 12 of Networking with Nick. For the first time on Networking with Nick, I have two guests. It's kind of interesting. Allow me to introduce Brant Dumford, a true businessman. Starting off early in his career in the medical field, he quickly grew into operational management. With these skills over his career, he's opened up multiple businesses, which include Flippers Construction, Bakery Project, Dumford Capital and Development, and where we currently sit, the Colony Co-working Investment Incubator. That's a great name.
Thank you.
I actually really love that. Joining us is Will Harmon, a proud Wichita local who enjoys the entrepreneurial spirit of our city. Will is a certified commercial investment member with a decade of experience under his belt in the commercial industry. He can dig deep and find the true investment value of your commercial real estate. Allow me to welcome my guests today, Brant and Will. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey. Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's very interesting that we went from 80s yesterday to sub-freezing this morning.
Right.
I don't know if anyone had to scrape some ice off their windshield this morning, but I did.
I was afraid my cat was outside and got frozen.
Oh, we don't want none of that. All right. So I do want to know: are you guys truly locals of Wichita, or do you come from any other backgrounds?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in Wichita 37 years, and I'm 37 years old.
Oh man! Well,
I got to beat by a little bit. I'm a little bit older and born at Wesley Medical Center, right down the street.
All right. So you guys truly have roots here with the family. Is there an extended history of you guys being here for the family?
Yeah, my dad and his mom and father were in the Wichita area, developed homes and built homes and started small businesses, and they've always been those type of hands-on type of people. So yeah, we've been in Wichita for quite a long time.
Well,
yeah, likewise. My father moved here from Mississippi when he was about maybe 7 years old, and then my mother was also born at Wesley Medical Center.
Okay.
Where she ended up working her entire life. So the only place she ever worked was Wesley, and so I'm the second generation born Wichita from my mother's side. So
that's amazing. I mean, I am a transplant. I'm originally from the Seattle, Washington area. I was 21, doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff before I moved here. When I first moved here, it was a huge culture shock, right? Slower. There's not a million people and no traffic.
Right.
Traffic was non-existing, which was nice. As I've grown here over the last 12, 13 years, I've really liked it. And I contemplated the idea of moving, putting roots somewhere else. Have you guys ever thought about the same?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, absolutely. Same.
Moved once in college, went up to Kansas City, did pole vault up at Johnson County Community College.
All right.
And bounced around a little bit, Kansas City, for about 2.5 years for my two-year degree. And then moved back to Wichita, and then had an opportunity about, I don't know, probably 20-something years ago. I moved to Florida and moved to Gainesville, go Gators.
Okay.
And I was down in Florida about 5 years.
All right. What made you come back?
Man, honestly, the only way to describe it is it was a God thing.
Okay.
The night before I went to bed, I was never moving back, man. I was 3 blocks off the beach, lived right next to a lighthouse. I could hear the waves crash from my bed. Didn't need a sound system.
I mean, that's some dream stuff.
I got one of those little machines for my daughter, but I could just open the window. And the next morning I woke up, and it was a Sunday, and I never had a stronger gut feeling in my life. I was like, I got to go home. I mean, I was going to live there, surf every day. My business was great. But yeah, I had to go home. And I was living across the street from this place called Anastasia Baptist Church. And I was raised Baptist here at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Wichita, right now Broadway. And so anyway, my boss was also my youth group, not you, I guess a middle, young adult group leader. And he lived in Jacksonville, 45 minutes away. And first day I went to this church, I was raised Baptist. So I was like, when I'm looking up the church across the street from my front door, I was kind of compelled. I was like, I can't miss church.
You got to go
15 feet away.
It's literally a sign.
Yeah. And so I went in there, and after class that day, he took everybody for ice cream. And I was like, that's cool. And so anyway, I pulled him aside, and I was like, hey, bud, I know I just had this feeling for about 4 hours now since I woke up.
Wow.
But it is so strong, I can tell it's not going away. And I got to get back to Wichita. I go, I'm not in a rush. I'm not quitting on you tomorrow. I'll stay here as long as I need to transfer my business appropriately and make sure all my clients are taken care of. But once they're done, I want to go home. And about 45 days later, I stacked up and all my clients moved over and I was on my way out.
So nothing happened in your life to make that gut feeling? Like there wasn't some sort of urgency back home? It was just you woke up and just that knot in your stomach.
There wasn't a good thing. There wasn't a bad thing. There wasn't any trouble. I didn't get, lose my video game too early the night before. I mean, I think I was just missing friends and family, and I'd had two of my good buddies who moved down there with me.
Yeah.
And one of them had already moved back, and the other had moved to Daytona to go to motorcycle college.
Oh, okay.
And so I was crushing it, and I had some pseudo friends, but I was missing my core.
That connection that you've built over years and stuff. That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with me. That was awesome. What about you?
Absolutely. So I moved to Carbondale, Illinois in 2015. Yeah, it's about 5 hours south of Chicago.
Okay.
And I was actually in medical school and studying to become a physician. I always wanted to be a physician. I went to my undergrads in chemistry. I studied and did a lot of surgical technology and stuff like that, and then ended up in medical school for 2 years. And then my dad had a heart attack and needed me to come home and help him run Delano Bakery. And so in that time period, fast forward a little bit, I had some rental property as well from a number of years before. And I just had started thinking, man, maybe investing's just not for me. Maybe I should look a little bit deeper into this real estate gig. And just because my father needed my help, I came down and ran that bakery, and to supplement some of my income, I started doing wholesale deals on the side.
Okay.
And that ended up turning into a lucrative deal, and the rest is history, I guess. Now I'm a full-time real estate investor. I'm doing things with Will Harmon and the like, and every day is an adventure.
Absolutely. So, is your dad okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
He's with us still? That's good. I'm happy to hear that. That's very good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was wondering, like when you had that knot in your stomach, was there something that was weird happening, and that's kind of why I wanted to ask that. Clearly, parents are entrepreneurial, own businesses. Mm-hmm. Where'd that come from? It obviously got passed to you. Is it a generational thing, or was grandpa and grandma the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my grandmother ran a store called Wheatland Magic Mill. If you're familiar with the Wichita area, there's a little suburb place called Delano, and before Delano was what it is today, we had a health food store, and we owned both the building on the left and the right hand side of the Delano sign. That's in Delano.
All right.
And we actually put that sign up, and we allowed for people to come in and buy health food store items and homeopathic remedies and stuff like that. And they also had wheat mills so that you could make your own bread. And my dad, at the time he was in real estate, he had purchased a rental property from a guy, and in the garage there was like $50,000 worth of baking equipment. And he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm going to go do something with it. And he saw that when they were making the bread, the people would not buy the bread maker, but they would buy the bread because everybody wanted fresh made bread.
Right.
So he said, well, I got all this baking equipment. We have this building right next door. Let me just put this baking equipment in and start making bread. And now, almost 40 years later, he's got 150 different restaurants and contracts with all the Dillons and Quick Shops. And
that's amazing.
He's got bread everywhere. We've got dough coming out of our ears.
No joke. Making dough and stacking dough for sure.
That's right.
So, all right, there's that. Where did the real estate stuff all come in for the family? Was that something your dad was like, you know what, owning property is better than renting it, or was that like a generation thing? Like he
sure. So like everybody always likes to talk about the big wins and how their family like handed them a silver spoon. Mm-hmm. Well, what I got was a tarnished spoon because both my uncle and my dad had to declare bankruptcy through their real estate holdings. Okay. So they lost everything.
Oh,
So what I ended up with was a whole bunch of lessons on what not to do.
absolutely.
And those lessons on what not to do have been the bane of my success moving forward. Just to point out, you don't over leverage, stay humble, network, don't stay insulated. Those kind of things are things that they made mistakes on.
Right. So you had this amazing front row seat. Obviously, roller coaster of emotions going through a bankruptcy.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But I'm a big believer. Failure is your biggest teacher.
Absolutely.
And you got to watch that firsthand to see. All right, hold on. Don't do none of what I just saw,
Right.
and that won't happen.
Absolutely.
And the ability to. How old were you at the time?
I was probably really young, so probably like 6 or 7, something like that.
Man, so you were literally an adolescent, and you got to see that, and this stuck with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy.
Because you watch your dad go.
Yeah, like goosebumps. Look.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So you go from watching your dad leave every day for work, and load a van full of tools and supplies, and go off to another rental property that they're doing, and then you watch your dad not doing anything at all because it's all been taken away by the banks. So that's something that does stick with you from a young age.
Yeah, that's absolutely traumatic for sure. Good Lord. What about you? I know, like, you got your hands in the commercial side of things, or were you entrepreneurial as well?
Yes, very much. Even when I worked for bigger companies, there's always something that was commission only, which is pretty much
Sales.
self-employed.
Right.
And after I graduated Wichita State, I was an entrepreneur major at W. Barton, Frank Barton School of Business.
Yeah, yes.
And something you were just saying, I got to throw a quote from my favorite professor at Wichita State. God rest his soul, Ron Christie. There's two things he always said. He's like, you're never truly an entrepreneur until you've claimed bankruptcy.
Right.
And then also, you never learn business when business is good.
That's true.
And so I've been down both those streets also.
Right.
So what got my first taste of real estate was I had been a financial planner. I was a financial planner in Florida. I moved back, went to Morgan Stanley. And my goal, my business plan I wrote my senior year in college was for a sports bar. I mean, every guy would sit in a bar.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward a couple of years after I moved back, about being in Morgan Stanley for a couple of years and making the cut and being a top producer, had the opportunity to buy out what was the old Tanners, which had then become the Cedar for just a blink. And they ran into the ground, and my dad and I were sitting there having lunch one time, and there was no one in there. We were literally the only two people. And there was two waitresses smoking cigarettes by the soda machine. And so for 10 minutes, we just sat there just going, is anyone going to wait on us? What the hell? And then finally, a guy came out and, took our order. And then, like 30 minutes later, the food came out. And my dad was like, man, he mentioned to the guys, like, we could make this a whole lot faster. And the guy's like, you want to buy the place? And not really, it was the owner we were talking to.
Mm-hmm. No joke. And it was kind of almost like serendipitous.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, you want to buy it?
So about a month later, he was in financial struggles, and he called. He found out who we were and called us up, and the rest was history. And so we had the most successful sport. So what got me into taste of real estate was just the negotiations on the leasing.
Interesting.
And not so much on the first location, but we opened up a second one about 7 years later. And I had two failed locations that we negotiated hard on. Weren't going to just be yes man and say, oh yeah, we'll take that.
Right.
And so finally, after the third one, got into the lease, and my real estate agent is still a mentor of mine today. His name is David Lay. And after we did the lease on the second location, I was like, David, man, you've been working with me for like a year. I've never given you any money. Oh, how do you get paid? And he's like, oh, well, the landlord pays me for your lease. I was like, tell me about that. So he told me about it. And then I did the math real quick. And I was like, holy crap. You just made more out of this deal than I'm going to pay myself this year.
Interesting.
And I was like, and it just got my wheels turning. And so about a year and a half later, I went and got my real estate license. And then, everything was going great until it wasn't. We were the #1 sports bar in Wichita. It's called Larry Bud's Sports Bar and Grill.
I know Larry Bud's.
Yeah, and we were #1 sports bar in 13, #1 sports bar in 14, and bankrupt on July 7th of 2015.
Oh no!
And our landlords went bankrupt. Our West Side landlord, I won't drop that name, but
right?
Wasn't it was more in it for him than Go Team. And we just band-aid everything that broke. Wouldn't really truly fix anything.
Right.
And the our second location was a straight money pit.
Oh no!
And whereas our first one was a gold mine. Also a lot of lessons. You should probably diversify the entities that own those instead of owning them under one umbrella.
Absolutely.
Lesson learned.
Very, very interesting. So, why was that second location such a money pit? Was it just the location in the building just being so ran down over years, no TLC?
It was more the way it was built, and it was so inefficient. And then all the HVAC was so old and band-aided that we had the 2 years we were there, we had 2 massive heat waves 2 years in a row. 40 days over 100.
Yeah.
Both years.
No, that's the year I moved here.
Your electric bill shouldn't be $5,000 more than your rent.
Right.
That's a lot of cheeseburgers and a lot of beers to make out.
$5,000?
Yeah. Yeah, for 3 months, for June, July, August, 2 years in a row, our electric bill was at least $5,000 over our rent.
Over your rent?
Like a rent plus $5,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you do? What can you do?
Man, yeah. Turn up the heat a little bit,
Just deal with it.
Let it be a little warmer,
So from that time when you were looking at that location, has your thought process changed on what you're looking for when you're looking at locations now? If you were to go look at a bar today.
Yeah. Well, I love looking at those because, I'm one of the only brokers in Wichita that, you're looking at another one.
Right.
I'd say we're a select few that can walk into a restaurant and be like, well, this is good, this is bad, this is not acceptable, this is great. Just looking at hoods. Someone says, hey, look, this is a great location, I love it. And they specialize in fried foods, and they're going to need 20 feet of hoods. Well, that's enough. Yeah, and there's nothing in there. Like, that's a crazy expensive build out.
Wow.
So, depending on where their financial situation is, we can help educate them before they go making big mistakes.
Dang. All right. So what has it taken you to get that knowledge? Because you are a certified commercial investment member.
Yes.
What is that?
So CCIM for short.
Yep.
It is basically like getting a PhD in real estate.
And so you sound very well versed in your craft.
Well, I'm also very active, and I've got
one of the best.
Yeah, clearly.
So it's an education platform it's on a global scale now. Started in America. We've got one of the first CCIMs, Colby Sandlin, right here in Wichita. He's still around. That guy's amazing. Anyway, shout out.
Yo.
It is basically it's 4 core courses that you have to go travel to, typically some of your fancier, bigger cities, because they don't offer too many of them in the small cities, which, by the way, we are offering 101 here next month in Wichita. Go Wichita. So anyone that wanted to get started and get a little taste, 101 is the foundation for everything.
Wow. Okay.
And it's a week-long course, solid. So you have to drop everything you're doing, go to this place, you line up your babysitters, line up whatever you got to do, rides to practice for the kids and everything. And then you have to take a test. That's like a 4-hour long test to pass that course.
Good Lord.
And then you have to do that 4 times and then take some electives. And then you have to go take the final. That year, the final wasn't in America, so I had to go to Toronto, Canada.
You had to go out of country just to take the final.
Just to take the final. And you get a 3-day cram course to remind you of everything you've learned. And some people take it over. The fastest I've ever seen anyone do it was 1 year.
Wow.
But typically it's 2 to 4 years for people to complete it. And the classes are expensive. And the places you're staying are expensive, and they put you up at the
It's an investment.
It's probably like $20,000 investment.
Wow.
And then you take the final. I mentioned I used to be a financial planner, right?
Right.
Well, people allude to like the Series 7 being a tough test. I waxed that thing in like 45 minutes with like a 97. Okay. The CCIM final, they give you 6 hours. And I'm like, whatever, I'll be a couple hours, I'll be done. It took me all 6 hours.
You used up all 6 hours
It
of
took
your
me
time.
6 hours, and I got an 87. I got my football number. I had it first, Kelsey. I had it first, Kelsey. Um, and yeah, I mean that was like the happiest moment. And then before you can take the final, you have to submit a portfolio of business that takes a small career of hustling
Yeah.
to even be able to qualify to take the final.
So do you have that
No.
same? No, he said no before I even got that question out.
He's School of Hard Knocks, baby.
School of Hard Knocks. I do have an MBA from friends.
Okay, so give me your kind of like as you're looking or growing throughout your investment, like what is that like? Where'd you get your education from? Obviously from your father,
Sure.
things like that. How have you developed over the years?
Right. So I've had multiple mentors, and can't stress that enough. I mean, if you get somebody who's done it before and can kind of give you like the Cliff Notes version,
Absolutely.
and what not to do, again, on that point, it's very, very rewarding, and it can excel your business 100-fold. I'll give a shout out to Noah Swank.
Hello, Noah.
Yeah, Noah, he's one of the best probably underwriters of real estate in the city of Wichita, if not the state. He knows how to pick a deal, and he knows how to make sure that the deal's going to work. And he taught me everything that I know and that I use today on all of my deals. So I worked for him for about 3.5 years, and I was basically a director of investment real estate for him. And we sourced deals for different um, types of portfolios for different people. And we probably did somewhere close to $100 million worth of business in those 3.5 years.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Those are some amazing numbers. I think that's incredible. What for both of you, what has the power of networking been for this journey?
Absolutely. You can't get a stronger power in your everyday business than networking. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I know everybody says that, but I mean, it is the truth of the matter. If you can call somebody and say, "Hey, I need your help here," you just shortcutted a lot of heartache. And the heartache is the stuff that takes a lot of time, and it also takes a lot of effort. And if you can just do things a little bit easier from the very, very beginning, you're going to get to a position where everything kind of just feels like you're in flow. Kind of like you see Will and I today. We're very relaxed. We're very cool, calm, and collected. And I feel like both of us have come to a place of flow in our business where we've done enough of the foundational work to build our skill sets and our networks and all the other things that come with owning businesses to where now it's just like an on and off switch where we can just say, today we're going to work and we're going to turn it on and we can go out and we can start closing deals.
Oh, that's amazing. I love to absolutely hear that. That's so incredible. You, Will, what has the power of networking done for you?
Well, if I'm sitting behind a computer, I'm in the wrong place.
Right.
I like to beat the streets. I like to get out there, every day. There's so many, you get invited to so many things.
Right.
You'll make yourself available to what you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my favorite thing is if you can get involved with charity groups. The one I picked a long time ago was the East YMCA Men's Club.
Okay.
And I've now been a member of them, I think 16 years. And never once did I ask for anyone's business in there. And at first, I didn't have to because I wanted to come to my bar and drink.
Right. That's a good way to do it.
But when I switched careers, I didn't go in there, going, hey, man, we're brothers in this group. You got to do your business with me. I didn't. I just kept doing the charity work. And about 3 years into it, all of a sudden it's like the guys started calling. In fact, I got a call this morning from one of my guys, old Matt Jackson, looking to do some good in the community and expand some more group homes for some of the kids that have, some disabilities and such.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, dude, so happy to help, and I've got a teammate on my team, which on this case also happened to be my sister that's crushing it on the real estate side that I knew would get along really well.
Yeah.
With Matt. And so I connected them this morning and And she's, as we're sitting here right now talking, she's hustling, looking up properties.
God, that's so amazing. I mean, the main reason I wanted to start the show was how much fun I had during networking, going to events. I started off in B&I. I'm assuming you guys are familiar with this.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And as a window cleaner in 2020, I started my own window cleaning company. It gave me the ability to start learning how to talk to other business owners. I used to do door knocking for Kirby Vacuum. I could talk. That's
Sure.
Talking and communicating aren't the same thing. Right. Those are different. I had to learn those skills of communicating to other business owners. What were some tips that you could give to some newcomers coming into networking?
Absolutely. I think if you're talking, you're not in control of the situation. The person that is suggesting a topic and then sitting back and listening and letting that person just fill you with everything that's on their mind, the person who's listening is typically in control. I mean, you can talk yourself out of a deal so fast if you just don't shut your trap.
Yeah, we've seen it 100 times over.
Especially when you get to the big question, when you're asking the closing question, you just got to sit there and shut up.
Yep.
You got to eat that silence. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do too, because it's interesting. People cannot handle silence. Mm-hmm. How do you eat that? Like, do you just train yourself?
I listen to my mentor.
Yep.
And I just hear him yelling at me going, shut your mouth, Will, shut your mouth, Will, shut your mouth, Will.
What about you? What tips could you give a newcomer?
Yeah, I think what Will is talking about is so important for newcomers, for anybody in any type of entrepreneurship, whether it be manufacturing or you're a line cook in a restaurant. Like, just the idea that if you're talking, you're not listening. And if you're not listening, you're not gaining any data. And the data is where the education comes from. And the education is what allows you to leverage that education and that knowledge to be able to move forward. And that's where you want to be, is you want to be in a position where you can take information and leverage it for a better good, for something that you want. And that's really, really important. I can't stress that enough.
It's amazing. So now, how did you two connect? Where'd y'all shake hands the first time?
Old Larry Buds.
Old Larry Buds?
Yeah.
Just putting down a couple of drinks? Was it when you owned it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't slamming drinks. It wasn't shooting shots. He said he had dough coming out of his ears. And I met him, and he was delivering bread to my business.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
In fact, year was this?
He's still on my phone as Delano Bread Guy.
I don't know if that's disrespectful or like, you know what I mean?
Brant Delano Bread Guy.
I think that's such a
awesome.
great term.
It just reminds me of our roots, man.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So what year was that?
It's probably 2007.
Yeah, I would say somewhere in that area.
So quite a while.
Yeah.
And then when you guys first met, did you guys start just kind of talking, hanging out, and then figuring out what you guys did in business and just kind of start partnering up together?
I would say for about 10 years, we both kind of quietly watched the other person excel in their own lane. And then I got into commercial real estate a little bit more full time.
Right.
And when I did that, I would call on Will for advice and for direction. And that kind of yoked us in a way, because, I mean, I'm a very humble individual. And when you look, like I said, if you can find somebody who's been there and done that, why not use that for the betterment of your good? And that's one of the things that I did with Will, is I just looked at him and I said, hey, man, I could use your help. And he stepped up gladly and willingly. And since then, I think the playing field has become a little bit more equal.
He might have ran past me.
Oh, yeah? I want to say, like, student has surpassed the teacher almost. I mean, that's good, though. They're like,
oh, I'm so proud of this guy.
You should be.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of cool stuff. We particularly just focus in the Derby area right now.
Interesting. There's a lot of stuff going up down there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've found a lot of success in buying some real estate and doing some creative different types of deal function and structure to be able to get the city of Derby growing in a different direction than it was prior to our efforts.
Wow. So is this a project you guys are currently working on together?
So I use Will for his entire team.
Oh.
His team. I'm actually part of Will's team. Yeah.
How's the structure? Give me the structure laid down so I
Go ahead,
know
Will.
who's working with what and who's doing
So I'm a part owner of ERA, Great American Realty.
Okay.
And Brant needed to put his license somewhere, and he called me up, and I was like, man, absolutely, come on over. And in the meantime, he's got some amazing, he's redeveloping some old bones and making Derby pretty again in that area. And, that takes a lot of time and effort to build these things. And so, we've got a great leasing agent named Johanna, and she's really stepped up, and, I support her in every way we can to help, fill every vacancy that Brant has. And,
Right.
And we've kind of been crushing it. And, he's been buying,
100% been crushing it.
He's been buying fantastic assets in very creative ways, I might mention.
Interesting.
And we've just been doing our best to fill them up and get that cash flow coming in. And
When you say creative ways, so obviously you can buy a property with money. That's kind of how most people buy things. What do you mean by creative ways?
So in probably 2017, I was looking for an office for my construction company, and I had no money. And I remember watching a video on YouTube about owner financing properties and seller financing properties. And I said, if this guy can do it, I can do it too. So I structured a deal with this guy on this 5,000 square foot office building that we ended up redeveloping into 5 separate 1,000 square foot offices. And we took one of the 1,000 square foot offices after we purchased it. But we did that with no money down.
Wow.
And we did it on very good terms, very good interest rates. And ever since then, I would always go back to publicity and get multiple write-ups about all of the deals so that I would have a good track record if I ever wanted to do it again. So now if you just Google Brant Dumford Derby, you're going to see a whole list of properties that I've acquired through these same means. But it also gives me a lot of credibility when I'm talking with owners about, hey, I would like to buy that property, but I'm not going to give you a down payment. I'm not going to get traditional financing. I want you to be the bank for me, yada yada yada. And we've done that 28 successful times.
Wow, impressive. And this is over. Okay. Is that all down in Derby then?
All down in Derby, yep.
Okay. My son lives in Derby. He goes to Sweeney
wonderful.
Elementary.
Well,
yeah.
that's phenomenal.
I'm down in Derby. I was there this morning, dropping him off. I actually, there is a lot of stuff going up. What are some things that you got your hands in?
Sure. So we own a cooperative bakery called The Coop.
I know the Coop.
Yep, that's ours. We started that. One of my good friends who was a VP of business development for Flipper Construction for me when I had that company, he's now since gone. He committed suicide, and we wanted to commemorate him by doing something that would carry on his legacy of bringing people together. And that's why we named it The Coop, because his name was Kalen Cooper, and everybody called him Coop.
That's awesome.
And we put his name up there. His family shops there every day.
That's amazing.
And everybody knows that's all just for Kalen.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yes,
just
sir.
to do that for someone that, to have that connection with and leave that legacy behind for him.
Right.
And some, that means a lot. It really, truly does. What are you looking for in the future? What are you guys looking for down there next?
Well, I think some new developments, some new construction is where we're going to be going in the next phase of the development for Dumford Capital and Development.
Okay.
What we're going to be doing is we actually have purchased an entire block of K15 and Market, and we're going to be developing the Derby's first fully family-oriented gathering space. It's going to be a lot like Revolution meets Clifton Square.
Yeah.
So there's going to be lots of small little micro shops that you can stop and shop in, along with a creamery, a full-service bar. There's going to be an American hamburger. We're going to call it Derby Smash Burger.
Hey, I like that.
So it's going to be a really cool area. We're currently in the talks with banks right now getting funding. and we are working towards getting that started in the middle of this year.
That's amazing. So what are those talks with the banks like that? Because that's a big project. That doesn't sound small.
Sure. Again, so I go back to always getting the publicity that you deserve and getting your name in the paper and on podcasts.
Right.
Doing this type of thing really helps solidify your brand. And we had a write-up in the Derby Informer, and Ameritrust saw the write-up and contacted us and said, we want to fund your deal 100%.
So your brand being out there, and you had them come to you.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not taking notes right now, you should be. What about you? What is on your radar in the future?
So I've got my first successful development going on right now. Right down the road from Derby, we're smack dab, dead center in the middle of Hayesville.
Yep.
I was just out there yesterday getting some good drone photos. We've got 15 acres right in the middle of, right there in the middle of on Grand Street. So in the middle of Seneca and Broadway. I mean, right down the street from City Hall, straight down the street from the school. And we named it Coppertail.
Coppertail.
And it's a spinoff of the red-tailed hawk, which is, one of the most prominent birds of prey in Wichita.
Absolutely.
But Hayesville's the hawks. So I wanted to do something, in the bird realm. And so we're building 100 rental units. And then we've got 2 acre-and-a-half lots out in front. That'll probably be some kind of strip center. Right now I'm talking to a company called the Cajun Crab. And I just interviewed a laundromat yesterday that might go into a strip center, be a couple of the anchors, and then, fill it in with other things that the city needs, hair salon, nails, chiropractor type thing.
Now, when you put up these type of projects, are you looking for specific vendors in these units?
I'd say value add for the community.
Value add for the community. I like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the most important aspects is in a real estate deal of this size and of this nature, you kind of have to reverse engineer it.
Interesting.
You have to come from it from the back first. And you have to look at it and say, okay, if I build this and I don't have tenants, what do I do? So what you want to do is you want to have tenants in mind before you start to build. So if you can find tenants, like Will's out there, he's not even started building it, but he's already starting looking for tenants that are going to be his anchors. You're going to be in a lot better position.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Man, that's smart.
And we were originally planning on doing like more of a, we were going to always have the front part on the frontage commercial, but as far as the back part, we were going to do like maybe half rentals and half, single family homes and sell them off. And the city of Hayesville was like, Google rents and rentals in Hayesville, and nothing popped up. Like there was nothing to rent in Hayesville. They're like, would you pretty please make the whole thing rentals?
Just because they needed the space.
I was like, will you pretty please give me a bunch of tax breaks?
Ooh. So do you get to negotiate that type of stuff whenever you're building in a city?
Absolutely.
I had to leave my brother got married on sorry, bro. He got married on a Tuesday, and same night as the city council meetings. So the same night that the city council voted on my tax approval, which would not have passed if I was not there.
Right. That's kind of something you should show up to.
Yeah. Because there was one angry guy in the thing that just needed to be loved on a little bit and just explained to, and just show how it's going to help the community. But that guy would have brought down the ship. Mm-hmm. He would have plugged a few holes in if I wasn't there to smooth it over. So after my brother said I jumped up, I ran out of the door, and I did 100 miles an hour down back roads to get to Hayesville on time for our pitch. And that's kind of been my role in it. My partner, she's the signature. She's got the history. She got the bankroll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me coming out of bankruptcy, I'm not too sexy on paper. I will be after this project.
No joke.
But I was just so blessed to find my partner too. But yeah, I had a bust tail to get down to that city council meeting, and then I got back for some other reception.
Wow, that's awesome. That's incredible. I love that. I want to ask you, this has kind of become my anchor question. As we wrap up part one, I'm definitely going to have you guys back on. You guys are amazing. Just learning, sitting here talking to you, I feel smarter. You both get up in the morning. You're getting ready for a normal day. You guys both go to leave your homes. But that day, you end up crossing paths with your 18-year-old self. You lock eyes and you have the ability to give him advice, not all the secrets. You don't have enough time. What do you tell that 18-year-old version of yourself?
Well, that's a good one.
Take a minute. Take a minute. I've had some really amazing answers.
I would say, first and foremost, at 18, you don't really have a good bearing on what's important in life. I mean, most people at 18 are not fathers or parents. At 18, you've probably not made your first $100,000. You probably never made $1 million. You probably maybe never made $10,000. So the idea that you're going to go out there and you're going to do all this financial good for yourself could kind of be rectified. And what I would say is just give it some time and have some patience and know that if you just continue on with your core beliefs, with your morals and your set of values, everything that you want in life is going to come to you. That's what I would say.
That's some good advice right there. Well, you still thinking, huh?
I got a couple. Short, easy answer would be when you're on spring break, the T-shirt is not worth the credit card.
Yeah.
Because, I was down there at Panama City Beach and every other booth was, hey, you get a free T-shirt and sign up for this credit card.
Oh, no.
Next thing you know, I had like 20 credit cards. And boy, it was easy to be live at the party when you had free money.
Right.
So no one ever told me how to pay that stuff back.
What happened to all of those credit cards, Mr. Will?
Well, they started racking up, but you could take the cash out of one and pay the other one. And then you could do that and then do that again and do that again until all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, your limit went from there to now it's nothing. And we were calling all your money. And so, which is funny, that debt is what prompted me to get into financial management.
Wow.
Financial planner. And that's what
I can see that.
And so when I graduated Wichita State, my uncle, I mentioned I went to Gainesville. My uncle Sean had a great gig and they had the retirement slot, the 403B. It's kind of like a 401k, but for nonprofits. They had that slot for the employees of the University of Florida. And so when I moved down to Florida, I told myself I had this old Grand Dam and the air conditioner was busted. And if you haven't been to Gainesville, they call it the swamp for a reason. There's no wind. It's 90 plus degrees every day of the year, and it's 100% humidity all the time.
Good Lord.
And I told myself, I'm not putting air conditioner in my car until I pay off every one of my credit cards. And, fast forward about 2 years, I was, our little company got bought by AIG, and now it just allowed us, instead of just doing retirement plans, to doing full financial services. And they had this big push to cross-sell. And to don't just help them with retirement, help them with their life insurance, help them with their college their planning. And I was one of the top 5 in the nation as far as cross-selling, and ended up getting invited to compete in this big, like a game show competition, like the Weakest Link.
Oh.
In front of, 1,000 employees of AIG in Vegas. And it was the first morning. It was the first morning of the first day I'd ever been to Vegas. After the first night.
Uh-oh.
I don't think I'd seen my room yet. I think my luggage got there. And I'm like early 20s, and my hair is all out to here. And I'm like, screw it. It's Vegas. I don't have any buyers here. None of you guys are my clients. I don't care. And I've always been pretty good with tests and things. And so the Weakest Link is that show that they bash you. They're rough on you. They're mean to you, whatever. And anyway, there was 2 rounds. There was the round of your peers. So I was like in the experience category. There was rookie, and then there was experience, and there was veteran. So I won the experience category. And then, so I made it to the finals, which I was up against the top producer in the world for AIG. And I was like, I'm happy. I already won $500. I'm like, yay.
Doing all right.
And anyway, so they keep going with these questions, and I keep getting them right. He gets them right. It's just me and him for about 10 questions. And all of a sudden they throw a question at him. They're like, at what age do you have to start taking your required minimum distribution, which at the time was 70 and a half. And he said 59 and a half, which is when you can start taking your IRA money out, not when you have to. And he's like, no, I mean, and I was like, no, he said it. And I won. And they brought me a Happy Gilmore check out for 10 grand.
Hey.
And I used that to pay off all of my credit card debts. And I freaking bought air conditioner in my
that has got to be like there. I don't know what you did karma wise. Somewhere, somehow, the universe was like, hey, we'll help you out. We'll let you learn this one.
Yeah.
That's great advice for especially your 18-year-old self. 18-year-olds, if you were out at spring break, do not sign up for credit cards for t-shirts.
No t-shirts. No
bad
t-shirts.
deal. That is an absolutely horrible deal. Gentlemen, that has been an amazing story from both of you. I want to say thank you so much for having me here at your studio.
Absolutely.
And hosting me. I am excited to watch your guys' journey. I'm excited to do part 2 in a few months to see where your guys' projects are.
Absolutely.
You are amazing individuals, and thank you again. Other than that, episode 12 of Networking with Nick. Get out there, shake hands, and meet some people. Thank you. Boom.